It's time for a quick shout out to some of our friends. The Old School Mini Bikes and Parts Facebook group. The Strictly Vintage Mini Bikes and Go-Karts Facebook group. The All About Mini Bikes Facebook page. Genuine New Old Stock Vintage Parts. The Vintage Snowmobile Podcast. And the Muscle Car Show and Tell Podcast. Ben Thomas is your independent AMSOIL dealer. Click the link in the description for your free AMSOIL catalog, or scan the QR code to earn the deepest discount by becoming a preferred customer. To advertise with Ben's Vintage Mini Bike Podcast, the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast, or the Muscle Car Show and Tell Podcast, please reach out to Ben or Mike for more information. Details in the description of this video.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Vintage Mini Bike Lovers Podcast. We've got a great show planned for you tonight. I hope we have a lot of interaction from our guests that we have here and also with you at home. If you can see me right now and you can hear me well, please send us a comment so we know that someone out there is listening. As far as the show tonight, we're going to be doing a lot of different things. I've got some videos lined up of other people's bikes as well as a few of my own, and I think it's going to be a good time. I'm hoping for a lot of interaction. Without any further ado, I'll bring my friends on. We've got Mike LaPierre up in the upper right. Hello, Mike.
Hey there.
And we've got Rob Hilditch, our AMSOIL distributor and friend of the Mini Bike Podcast. How are you doing, Rob?
Good evening.
It's good to see you here, all of you. So I wanted to thank you both. I had said to Mike off air that I really appreciated the support in getting this venture going. When this was first, I guess, a thought, I said to Mike, I think a mini bike podcast would really go over really well. And Mike said, yeah, I think you're right, but you'll have to do it. I said, well, I haven't really ever thought of it that way. And it's been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. And the technical side of this, I have such respect now for what Mike does week in, week out with his own podcasts. And I'd like to give a shameless plug to also my friend Joe Abadi. Joe does the Vintage Motocross Q&A, and he does that live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific. And so I have a lot of respect for that. And I believe Joe also uses the StreamYard software, which is actually not as intuitive as you'd like. There's a couple little quirks that you have to learn about it. So I really appreciate that support. How are we looking at comments? Looks like we've got some coming in.
We do. We have some coming in. Let's take a look here. We've got Whit Pearson saying, hope everyone is having a great evening. Looking forward to the show. And we're glad you're here tonight, Whit. We appreciate it. BCJ Vids is in the house saying hello to everyone. Nice to see you. Mutual friend to all of us, Rich Shad, is in the house saying good evening from Cleveland, New York. Also, Ben Adim, I believe this is your son,
yes,
saying good evening from Camden.
And we'll give a quick plug to Eric. Eric does a great job on the video stuff, not only for this, but he also does every show, vintage snowmobile show that we attend. Eric takes a walkthrough video, and people, even show attendees, really like it because it gives you a chance to see the part of the show that you missed, perhaps. So I really appreciate Eric doing that, and I know his channel is really growing. So check that channel out if you like vintage stuff.
I second that. He's got an excellent YouTube channel. Be sure and check that out.
Yeah.
Also, our good friend Tim Bewick is in the house tonight, saying hello to Ben, Mike, and Rob. Nice to see you as always. Vince Cuoco is in the house. Vinny's Minis is in the house from South Florida. Nice to have you here. We appreciate that.
He's somebody restoring a trail horse mini bike, Chopper, which is one that I'm also working on. So I'd love to get to know Vinny a little bit better and what he's doing on his projects. So maybe we can feature that project in an upcoming episode, perhaps. So as far as the show goes, I've got that graphic here. I think I'd like to pop on a video right now. This is a video from my friend Wes Parker, and Wes has a beautiful collection. He was kind enough to share some of his story with me privately, and then he sent me this video compilation. So why don't we play that, and we will then go from there.
It's Wes Parker here to show you a little bit of my mini bike collection here. First of all, I got a big mixture of everything. I love all mini bikes, so it's hard to say which one would be my favorite. Let's go. Right here, I got a little Indian. One of my little Indians. I have about 3 or 4 little Indians, the 700 series. We got a big wheel Azusa. Got a Harrison. Another trail horse I'm working on. Arco, Rups. Got them all. Then over here, got a Montgomery Ward. Another little Indian 700, all original on there. More bikes here. Got my Deltec Swinger. Another Arco Bushwhacker. We got Chieftains here. A couple of Chieftains. Taco. Another Sears bike. We got Bonanza here. More Arco. We got a Toyoko Alligator here. More motors on the shelf. Motors on the bench. Motors, for anybody that knows me, they know I love Briggs and Stratton, for sure. Briggs all day. Alright, so we're going to show you some more bikes I have here. Once again, it's a big mixture. Got the little Indians, 6000 there. Taco, Cat, Rupp. And scroll, just going down the shelf here to give you guys a look. Sensation, Paradigm, Bonanza. Got my Ruttman Wild Goose up there. Sears pedal jumper right there. 2-piece little Indian. Bird Sprite. And last but not least is a bike that's very special to me. I built this bike in memory of my best friend, George Marsh, who passed away tragically last year. This is a K&G mini chopper. And what I did, I put some Tarlo 8 bars on there. Nice little cruiser. And that pretty much concludes my collection. Hope everybody liked it. And God bless. Have a good night.
Well, that was really a nice tour, don't you think, fellas?
Yeah.
That's a big collection.
Nice variety in there.
What you find is that you can't just collect one once you start, apparently. And I can attest to it.
He'll never get them all done. Look how many motors he's got still there.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a labor of love for him, for sure. And he was telling me when he moved from one home to the next, you know, that they had mini bikes and go-karts. He was originally into go-karts. And so he had them coming out his ears, it sounded like. And it sounds like his wife has a heart of gold. Very, very good, tolerant person, as many of our significant others and spouses are, if you're in this type of hobby or any type of hobby like this.
Yep.
So it's really nice to see.
For sure.
Any reactions?
Go ahead,
There's
Rob.
a lot of bikes there I didn't know what they were.
Yeah.
Had they ever came out with a book, like one time for the snowmobiles in 1970, they had a list of all the manufacturers. There was like 108 back then.
Well,
Is there a book for mini bikes?
I know there's some lists out there, and I think somebody told me it was upwards of 300. But if you look, a lot of these bikes are original bikes, not something he would restore. And then he's got other ones that clearly have been already restored, you know. Yeah. So definitely a nice collection.
Yeah.
And this, his friend George, he was known as Mountain George. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers knew him personally. I did not get to meet him personally, and it's unfortunate he passed on in an accident, and leaves behind a legacy of mini bike friends for sure. And he was well known, and just from all accounts, just a really kind individual, very knowledgeable, willing to help anybody start in the hobby and help them along. So
yeah, that's a nice tribute to him, a nice way to remember him.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really nice thing.
For sure. And we've got comments coming in. Let's see what kind of reactions we have to all of this here. Here we go. Wes Parker is in the house saying good evening to Brother Ben.
Hello, Wes. Thank you for sharing your collection.
Yes. Yes. Vince Cuoco says, yes, sir. I think responding to our response to the collection. And Michael Cody is saying nice collection. Here we go. West Texas Mini Bike Association is in the house. Love to get to know these guys better. I bet they have bikes and things, video clips and images of bikes. They might share with us.
That's a new follower to the page, and I hope to meet that group of people that are doing that association. But looks like they have some nice projects going, and again, just a good group of people as they go in mini bikes.
Wonderful. And to those folks, please know that we're always hungry for video clips and images to share on the podcast for everyone to enjoy. So please keep that in mind for sure.
Exactly. And we have that video somewhere, Mike, or the tagline with my email. Anybody can always email content to me either through the Vintage Mini Bike Lovers page, the Facebook page. I also have the Vintage Mini Bike Lovers profile. So if you want to connect with me, you can connect with me either on either the page or on my profile, Vintage Mini Bike Lovers. And also the email, which is scrolling at the bottom, Ben's Vintage Mini Bikes at gmail.com.
Yes. And
now that chopper one he had, was that something that you could buy back then, or is that something he collected and custom made?
I believe he started with what would have been something you could buy, and then he made it his own. I saw it had Isuzu wheels, which are still something you can buy today. A lot of the types of wheels that were available, Go Power, for instance, still makes a wheel today, and they were a company that were supplying wheels way back in the day too.
Nice. And since Wes is viewing, Wes, if you have a more detailed response to that, please share with us in the comments for sure.
Definitely would love to hear the background on that one for sure.
Yeah, because the back sissy bar looked like it was actually factory frame.
I believe that was, yes.
Nice. And Ben Adim is in the house saying nice collection. Love the tribute bike for his friend. Yeah, that is awesome for sure. Vince Cuoco says you've got to have the room for them. Yes, that is true. And then our good friend to all of us, David at Alaska Railroad, saying good evening to everyone. We appreciate you being on tonight, David.
Hello, David. For sure. So let's see what we're going to do next. So I've got a little show and tell here in my shop, and I want to really get some input from our viewers, if I can, on the bikes that I'm going to show. That would be really helpful. So let me get that video queued up here.
Here we have the Arctic Cat Whisker. Was able to find this at a lawn sale. A true barn find. The gentleman said he'd had it over 20 years. It used to run. Someone removed the recoil. I was lucky enough to find one from my friend Dwayne. Appreciate that a lot, Dwayne. The bike is generally complete, although it needs a lot of restoration. The Saxonet automatic here. 2-stroke, very excited about that. Generally not in horrible condition as they go. I did notice it looks like the handlebars are a little tweaked. Definitely somebody went to town with some spray paint. It's going to need re-chroming. Exhaust relatively complete. I did notice the exhaust tip is missing. Seat appears to be in good shape. Has some original universal tread tires on it. Manco alloy wheels. Again, going to need some re-chroming. Gas tank not too bad, couple of dings. Should come out. Not really sure what to do with the Bing carburetor. I'm sure it's serviceable. Never been into one of those. Appears to have the original brake lever on it. Throttle needs some attention. One nice thing, it was free, meaning it rolls over. Seems to have good compression. The Arctic Cat Whisker.
Yeah. So what do you guys think?
Very cool.
How
Very
long
cool.
have you had that project?
About 2 weeks now.
2 Oh. I always consider mini bikes all 4-strokes, but that's neat to see a 2-cycle. That must be quite quick, that one.
I think it was the trend, in partially as they were transitioning, to try to race those, maybe it was Bonanza. Maybe one of our viewers really know which company first put the 2 cycles on them. But the idea of a 2-cycle, more like a motorcycle engine, really started becoming more popular on the mini cycles in general. And that's not a mini cycle per se. It's not really the size. The mini cycles typically had 10-inch, 12-inch, and 14-inch wheels. And I think people define the mini cycle as either the 12 or 14-inch one. I think that's the general conventional wisdom on what makes a mini cycle. But Rupp and Speedway all had a two-stroke model. Arctic Cat got into mini bikes in 71 and 72, from what I understand, and then did not after that, is my understanding. But being that the Lynx, Arctic Cat Lynx snowmobile was my very first snowmobile. That was what we had as a family. And I think my older brothers got more time on it than I did, because honestly, when I was 11, 12 years old, I really couldn't start that thing. So it was kind of, nice to be able to have older brothers to start it for you, but more times than not, they were riding it. So it seemed like for me, I spent more time under the hood than on the seat. And that's how I learned about these things.
Nice.
But we have a project to restore that Lynx, and I thought it would be really nice to have an Arctic Cat mini bike to show with it.
Very cool. And as far as my perspective as myself being a lover of vintage Arctic Cat snowmobiles, very nice to see an Arctic Cat bike for sure. And I remember those early 70s for sure. And we've got comments aplenty coming in. If you think the time is right, I'll be happy to go through them for you.
Yeah, let's do that.
And most importantly, we've got a response from Wes about that bike we were talking about earlier. He said the Sissy bar was original on the frame, and it did come with the Isuzu wheels. So cool.
Nice.
And then Vince Cuoco says, I have a Sundowner with a Sachs motor on it. Needs some work. David from Alaska Railroad says, I must admit I don't have much of any knowledge of mini bikes. However, I remember wanting one when I was really young, and it sure is cool today to see all of the different makes thanks to this podcast. Well, cool, and we appreciate you being on here. Vince Cuoco says hello to Gregory Dahlia. West Texas Mini Bike Association says tough little bikes, these Arctic Cats. Rarely see one in West Texas. Yeah. And Rod LeCarry says, nice find, this Arctic Cat. Vince Cuoco says 2 gears automatic.
Right.
And Vince Cuoco said, I had a 68 Panther. Yes. Good memories of those. We had a 69 Panther, by the way. Whit Pearson says, nice. I love the 6-inch wheels. All there and looks like it just needs some love. Can't wait to see it when it's finished. And I'm sure you'll keep us posted on that. And Benadim says the Lynx is fine, but Arctic Cat EXT would be better to go along with the AC mini bikes. Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
definitely.
This is a show that is being broadcast on one of Mike LaPierre's channel, the Vintage Snowmobile Lovers page. And so I know we get a lot of crossover, Mike, with your viewers and my viewers. And Rob will appreciate this. Just like on the Muscle Car podcast, I would volunteer to transport, any of those high-end race sleds. You need one to go from here to there. I'd be happy to do that for you. That's especially true on the muscle cars. Myself and one of the other viewers will volunteer to do that kind of thing for free as long as we get a ride, right?
Absolutely. It's a hard job, but someone's going to do it, right?
That's exactly right. Exactly right. So, this is a good time in our show to maybe do some announcements, and we can turn it over to you, Rob, if you're ready for that.
Sure. For a number of years, I've been involved with Amsoil synthetic lubricants, 100% synthetic oil. It's not all synthetics are the same. Amsoil was the first synthetic oil to be API approved back in 1972, and they still have one of the top line synthetics on the market. This year, one product here is good for 25,000 miles or 1 year, pours at 60 below zero, makes your engine run 20 to 50 degrees cooler, and up to 25% better gas mileage because of less friction, less drag. But because of this broadcast, the main thing we're going to be promoting is the small engine oils. It comes in 10W40, 10W30, and mainly for the newer snowblowers, 5W30. But the reason you want the small engine oils for your mini bikes, because the mini bikes have cams, lifters, and rockers. And years ago, they took the zinc out of the oil. The small engine oil still has high zinc in it, 1,100 parts per million of zinc in each one of these bottles. And that's what you need for your cams, rockers, and lifters. So if you're rebuilding a mini bike and you want to make it last longer, try looking at a synthetic oil that's designed for small engines with zinc in it. It'll cut down friction and drag, make the engine last 2 to 3 times longer, make it run cooler, and just last longer. So keep track of the type of oil you buy because it's important. And Amsoil has a great promotion thing. They have a catalog. If you want to click on the link down below, you can get one of our catalogs. And it has a list of all the products in it and the prices. And we have a deal where you can sign up as a preferred customer, save 25% on anything you order. Anything over $100 worth, they ship it right to your door free. And anybody that orders this week, they're throwing in a can of our metal protector. We use it for lubricating. It's great for chains and all that. I use it for loosening bolts up. I use it for the ignition wires. 101 uses for this here product. So for more information about the Amsoil product, you can click on the link Ben has down below, and it'll take you right to his site, and you can get a free catalog, learn more about the product, or you can contact us and we'll help you out to find out what product your vehicle actually needs. I'm done.
Well, it's important to note too, with this, that Rob has been a distributor. Mike is registered as a dealer under Rob, and I'm registered as a dealer under Mike. And so, as Rob says all the time, you get the three of us. And so, in terms of knowledge of the products, we all have access to a lot of good information from AMSOIL. When you look at the AMSOIL company, they've been doing this first in synthetics. Is not just a tagline; that's the reality. And these oils were designed for jet engines originally, so they're really high performance oil. And if you want the very best, just think about, has there been bad press about AMSOIL over the years? I've never heard it in all the years I've been involved in anything. That's a company that stands behind its products, and so that's why I don't hesitate to get involved with that myself.
Yeah.
So if you're curious about it, you want some more information, there's all kinds of research documents we can get you, all kinds of data about it. But I would encourage you to really look into it if you really want a high quality product at a good price.
Yeah, and if you order AMSOIL using Ben's dealer number, all three of us are going to benefit from this. And this is how we support these podcasts that you enjoy. If you watch the Vintage Mini Bike podcast, the Vintage Snowmobile podcast, or the Muscle Car podcast, this is how we pay the bills with these podcasts. So if you use Ben's number when you order AMSOIL, you're helping to support all of that. And it doesn't cost you anything extra, but it sure goes a long way for us to support these podcasts and keep them coming to you.
Even his dogs are going to get a treat too.
Yes.
That's right. Philly, Canine Phillip. Well, the thing is too, this is an arrangement by AMSOIL to share profit, in the distribution network. This doesn't cost the customer anything. So, this is really, as Rob's, or as Mike said, a really great way to, help us do what we do as well.
Yeah. If you click on the link, you can get the catalog, and it tells you a little bit about all the products we have available, or you can just call. We're here to help you.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, Ben's number is right here.
Yeah. Reach out to me. You can reach me through Facebook, my phone, or email. Be happy to help anybody out that I could. All right, so we've got some other announcements, and Mike, this might be a good time for you to promote some of the other podcasts that you do, because again, I'm really grateful that you are sharing your network and channels with me to promote the Vintage Mini Bike Lovers podcast.
Sure thing. Yeah, happy to do that. I do 2 podcasts every Thursday night during the winter months, October through March. I do the Vintage Snowmobile podcast. This mini bike podcast is going out to that channel right now. So if you're watching this, thank you for doing so. And if you're curious about this, join us every Thursday night, even in the off season. I have replays. So there's always something there for you to see on Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Just search for Vintage Snowmobile Podcast on Facebook or YouTube. Goes out to 8 different places, easy to find. The other podcast I do is the Muscle Car Show and Tell podcast. That goes live every Wednesday night to 8 different places across Facebook and YouTube. If you'd like to find that podcast, just search for Muscle Car Show and Tell podcast. That'll come up, and that's where you can see it every week. We're going out to that channel as well with this podcast tonight. And to those viewers, thank you so much for joining us.
Indeed, I appreciate that a lot. I've got a few other announcements I'd like to make also. And with regard to the Vintage Mini Bike Lovers, I have started doing a little bit with reproduction brochures. This one in particular is a trail horse brochure. I had it professionally reproduced. It's 8 pages. It's on a high gloss magazine type print, just like the original was. We did our very best to recreate all the images in high resolution. It's got a lot of information on there about all the trail horse bikes. And it's my hope that I can, this is one that actually you just don't see them come up much. And being that I was very interested in the trail horse, I was very curious about this when I did get an original, and I wanted to be able to share the wealth. And so it was not inexpensive to get this professionally reproduced. And so as a pre-sale, before it actually came up, I was offering these for sale for $19.95 plus $5 shipping and handling. And so as a podcast special, I'm going to redo that introductory price. If you message me and ask me for the podcast special, I'll give you that same discount, $19.95 plus $5 shipping and handling. We'll get that right out. So if you are a trail horse fan or just a mini bike fan in general, and want to have some of that history in your arsenal, this is a great piece for that. Also, I've teamed with TeePublic for t-shirts, and the TeePublic t-shirts, they're really good quality, and I was very impressed. Also, I had an irregularity on the first one that I ordered for myself, and ironically, I just messaged TeePublic, told them that there was a little defect in the transfer graphic on there, and they said, we will get you one immediately, and they shipped one out immediately, replacement, no questions asked. It was just that easy. So they have 100% customer satisfaction guarantee. And on each sale, I'm net about $4 on a full price t-shirt if it's on sale, and they run sales all the time for these things. So there's a discount they're typically doing when they do a 35% discount. The t-shirts are $16 plus shipping. And these are a couple of images I've loaded in my store. But if you go to that link there at TeePublic and just use my store name, Vintage Mini Bike Lovers, with hyphens in between, you can have access to any design that any artist does on TeePublic. And when you purchase it by going through my link, I end up getting a portion of that sale. So this is a small artist type company. They support individuals, and I'm hoping I've got a couple artists that I know that live in my house actually, and I'm hoping to get my daughter to commission something for me specifically for the podcast. But also I intend that she's going to help me do some other specialty t-shirts designed for the mini bike enthusiasts. So I'm hoping that we can have you stay tuned for that. But if you're looking for a good t-shirt, please consider that as well. So let's see where we're at. How are we doing on comments, Mike?
We do have a few that have come in. I want to thank everyone for engaging with us so nicely tonight. We really appreciate that. We've got Keith in the house saying, hello, guys. It's Keith from Ohio. Nice to see you, Keith.
Hello, Ref.
And then we've got West Texas Mini Bike Association says, but does it come with Amzo stickers? Longtime user, great product. Good point. We need to work on that. I think Rob has may have an answer on that.
Get his email and we'll send them some.
Excellent.
That's a great idea. Definitely in fact, I think I have a few I can send right out of my box, because every time you get an order, you get stickers.
Yes.
So we'll definitely get you some of those. Just send your information along. We'll get you some stickers out for sure.
Nice. And our good friend Rod Licari, who is a regular viewer of the Vintage Snowmobile podcast, he's viewing tonight from the Vintage Snowmobile Lovers Facebook page.
Awesome.
Which is
thank you for doing
one of the places where that podcast goes. And we thank you for your loyalty, Rob. We appreciate that. Also, our good friend David Alaska Railroad says, speaking of the other podcasts, I just want to say I've been absent lately because I work a fall seasonal job along with my regular small engine mechanic job. No worries. We totally understand. And that's the nice thing about the replays is you can circle back and catch them whenever it's convenient for you. And also our good friends and excellent viewers from the very beginning, Stacy and Art Fosler are in the house. They're saying hello from Platkill, New York. And I have a dinner date with Stacy and Art Fosler, September 28th. Cannot wait to do that. They're going to be passing through the area here. Going to meet up with them. We're going to have a nice meal together and finally meet in person after all of these years. Looking forward to that. George Ackerman says hello to everyone.
Hello, brother George. How are you?
And I believe we're caught up on our comments.
Awesome. So I've got a little more footage that I'd like to share. And this next one actually is a good segue because when you consider the crossover between vintage cars, vintage snowmobiles, vintage mini bikes, you are starting to see at a lot of the different shows that people are bringing the mini bikes. It's routine at some of the vintage snowmobile shows to have people starting to show mini bikes. That was true with the Goffstown show that we highlighted back in July on the podcast. And also it was true at the show that my son and I attended at Turin, New York last weekend. So the next video I'm actually going to show you is some footage from the collection of Todd LaGrange, who is a Rupp collector. And he has an awesome collection. Let's cue that video. So that, with regard to that particular collection, you saw in the background all the Rupp snowmobiles there, right?
Yeah, nice nitro there.
So, those gentlemen routinely travel throughout the country to show these Rupps. And I know your guest coming up next week on the Muscle Car podcast is a big Rupp collector, Bill Stull.
Yes.
I'd be very surprised if Bill didn't know Todd LaGrange and his dad. So it's really, when you look at some of these, these bikes, they're just immaculate. It's really hard to see and appreciate in this video how pristine those bikes are, really. So it was really a nice thing to see. So they routinely show their bikes when they show their sleds, and that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a bigger trend for people to do that, and that's exactly what I'd like to do too. When we're going to the shows, especially the summer shows, to have a mini bike there, it's kind of fun.
We
Rob, are
take
you
when we
starting
go
to
to the
see some
show
of
that
that?
we can drive around with.
That's exactly right, isn't it?
Yep.
And are you starting to see that too, Rob, north of the border, more mini bikes at some of the snowmobile
Even
shows?
at the car shows, somebody with an old pickup truck will have a mini bike in the back.
Nice.
Yeah. So
And
that.
we've got a
Go ahead.
couple of comments. David from Alaska Railroad says, beautiful Rupp. First time ever seeing a green Rupp. Wondering if that's a fat tree color. That is a good question.
Yeah,
And
it
if I
was one of the colors offered.
Nice, yeah. And then Wes Parker says, very nice, thumbs up. And George Ackerman says, awesome, with a okay sign. Outstanding.
Yeah. So we'll move on from there. I've got a little bit more to show here in my shop. And so let me queue up that next video. And if you want to take that banner down for me, Mike, I'll get this video going here.
Yes, yeah, I'll take care of that for you.
Oops, sorry about that. I had a little technical glitch here.
That's all right. And I'll remove
There we
that video. There we go. You got it.
Here we have the Arctic Cat Climber. This roller was one that I'd seen on Marketplace thanks to my friend Eric. Appreciate you tipping me off, Eric. A little fancy work on the fenders. Definitely a lot to work with here. The seat is very nice. Has only one minor little spot where it needs repair. Has the C-Box shocks on it. Definitely restorable. Looks like somebody replaced the gears. Not sure what should have been there originally for the jack shaft. Someone made the foot pegs. Missing the gas tank. These appear to be bicycle handlebars. Not a big deal. has the bracket for the headlight. Hoping I can get the original decal to clean up a little bit. Going to need some rechroming. The tires on this are very nice. Tread like new, no cracks. Rear sprocket looks to be decent. Rear tire also very good shape. Arctic Cat Climber.
Yeah, so that particular bike was one I found when I was going to pick up parts from this person selling out near EPA, and it obviously is missing a lot of original items, including the engine. And it's very can be very challenging, especially if you're looking for one with a lighting coil.
But it has the Arctic Cat seat.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. And my understanding is that that's a 71 version of that.
I don't think I've ever seen one with a half leopard seat.
Yeah, that's the seats on these are very distinct, and I'm pretty sure in 72 they did not put the leopard print on all their seats. I'm not really clear on that. So Arctic Cat is one that growing up I never saw an Arctic Cat mini bike. You know, I just didn't seem to be around. I don't know. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I needed to get out more as a young man. Maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing them either. I remember seeing them later on in later years. I don't know if it depended on what the dealer network was near you, or
Right. I'm
I mean,
not
we
really
had a
sure.
cat dealer in town, but I don't even recall seeing the mini bikes at the cat dealer. I don't know if just certain dealerships got them or how that was working.
Well, what's ironic about this one, if you can see the engine plate has a plate steel on it, whereas the other one we highlighted had the two-stroke engine that just had the tube frame underneath it. So this is designed for the Tecumseh engine, a four-cycle engine.
Sure.
And the name Climber perhaps gets its name from the gearing. You can see how large that rear sprocket is on there. And with the jack shaft, you have a good transfer of power from the engine.
Yeah.
So I'd love some input from our viewers on this one, whether I should, maybe resto mod this one, or should I restore it to original? What's some of the viewers' thoughts on that? I'd love to hear your input on that.
And also to the viewers, if you know how Arctic Cat was distributing these bikes, because like Ben and I said, we don't recall seeing them as kids. And I used to go into our local Arctic Cat dealer quite often and don't ever recall seeing bikes in there. What are your memories of that, or what thoughts do you have about how they were distributing that? Do you remember seeing those as a kid in the early 70s?
I'd
Weigh
like
in
to
on
know
that?
what the original retail price was back in those days.
That's a
Yeah.
great question too.
Yeah, I know the Honda 50s, they were $399 in Canada.
Wow.
They're more than that now.
Yeah.
10 times the price.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of our viewers are like-minded as us. We wish we'd have put a few more of these different things aside, I'm sure.
Yes.
Or didn't break them.
Yes. And we do have comments rolling in. We've got West Texas Mini Bike Association saying, nice bike. We are restoring a 1970 Roadster at the moment. Very cool. We'd love to see pictures or videos on that. Rich Shad, a good friend of ours, says, I'm sitting on my 79 Polaris TX340 as he's viewing this. With all the vintage snowmobile projects I have, there's no time for mini bikes, so I enjoy what Ben is doing at his shop. We had several mini bikes growing up as well as go-karts. Very cool.
Awesome.
And give that Polaris TX a pat for us. Those are sweet sleds. And let's see. Benadim says, "What engine would have come in the Climber?" Does anyone know that?
Yeah, I believe it would have been an HS40, but I am not positive if it also could have come with an HS50. That particular mini bike has the headlight bracket on it, so I'm assuming whichever engine came originally, it would have had the lighting coil for it.
Sure.
Our good friend Jeff Mahalko from the podcast in August would definitely know this. He could rattle that off in his sleep, I'm sure. You may recall, Mike and Rob, he talked about having an Arctic Cat on their farm as his first mini bike because he had to check the fences.
Yes. Yeah. Nice. And Keith Zebreg says, "Nice shop." George Agerman says, "I never saw one back in the day either." So I guess we're not alone. We're not unique in that respect. And Keith is saying for that project, he says the rear fender has to go. And then let's see, of course, that'll give you a stripe up your back if you go through any kind of puddles. But Whit Pearson says would look good with a Power B 820 on it.
Oh, yes.
That would be cool. True. Vince Cuoco says, "I had a Bronco for his first bike." David from Alaska Railroad says, "Give that TX a pat for me too." Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I know David is a Polaris guy. Very cool. Pat it lovingly.
What's that green snowmobile in the background?
That is an Alpine, actually. We bought that from a local snowmobile club. They had retired it as their grooming sled, and we got what's called a trail plane that goes behind it. So we groom the trails right here where the shop is. We have what amounts to a couple miles of trail here on the property. And so if anyone wants to see Rich Shadd's TX in action, go to Benadim's channel, and that's on YouTube. And you can find all kinds of vintage riding video there that Eric takes, including one of Rich's TX. Rich came to ride one day over this past winter, and I was still up at the house, and I heard this monstrous sled in my backyard, and I'm thinking, what in the world did he bring over? And it was that TX 340. The thing is just a monster. It's awesome.
Nice. And he does have an excellent Polaris collection too, by the way, Rich Shadd. Douglas Growl says HS40 would be the correct engine. Good to know.
Thank you, Doug. Doug is a collector of Arctic Cats. Good man.
Nice. And Vince Cuoco says tilted Tecumseh in there. That's his suggestion, maybe. And then Rod Licari says the local hardware store had mini bikes, but not sure what brand. There was also a Ski-Doo dealer in town. Don't remember ever seeing an Arctic Cat. Interesting. So we do have some consensus on that. And Benadim says a 775 swap. Out of a King Cat or something.
Well, we have a 72 TNT, which has a twin 775. It's a twin to give you some idea of how large those darn pistons are, right? And it's a handful. So I imagine on a mini bike it would be ultra scary for sure.
Yeah, or an 800 4-cylinder out of a King Cat. That would.
Well, we talked about this with our friend Ken Crozier about the Polaris Star Car, you may recall, on one of the earlier podcasts. And Rich was actually the one that told me the marketing strategy for Polaris is that you had the Star Car for the summer and you pulled your engine from your snowmobile and put it on the Star Car. And that was a short-term run for Polaris because probably they were a little concerned about liability because on wheels, the snowmobile engine didn't seem to have the same amount of drag that it would have trying to push the track and, drag the skis across the ground. And on the car, it was a little bit much. So those are pretty interesting. Anybody wants to learn a little bit more about the Polaris Star Car, we did show one on one of the earlier episodes.
Yeah, you're right. I bet if you put a 440 in there, that thing would scream.
Yeah. Viewers may recall the Allsport three-wheeler that was using twin J-Los on those and other snowmobile engines. So it was, the companies were that were in the motorsports, they were doing recreational vehicles and they were just trying to find, that niche because the consumers were hungry for that, any type of wheeled vehicle that had an engine, so everyone was competing to try to, capture that market share.
Yes. And I can try to find that Star Car video. It's only 40 seconds long and I'm searching for it as we speak.
If you find it, yeah, well, we can show it. We're doing pretty good on time. I've got one more video that I'd like to show, and we can cue that up while you're looking. And as far as that goes, let's see here. We got
And I've got it too. If I've got it handy, if you need a moment to search.
yeah.
Want me to
Yeah,
roll
let's
it real
run
quick?
that. Yeah, run that right now while we're talking. Sure.
All right, it's only 40 seconds.
'69 Polaris stock car that I restored. There's very few of them still around. This one runs and drives. I really haven't drove it that much, but it does work. I did a lot of the stuff myself. I sent some of the chrome out and had the chrome done. The motor does run. Everything works like it should. There's a lot of the steering wheel stuff is original. The seat, the roll bar. There's a 372 Fuji in it, single cylinder. Original tires, original wheels. I would say it probably hasn't been used or abused all that much. So that's what I can tell you about it.
Cool deal. And that's Jason Gibbs from Maine. He goes to a lot of the vintage snowmobile shows in northern Vermont and New Hampshire. If you go to the Crane show in February, pretty likely to see him there with his Polarises and moto skis. But yeah, Jason Gibbs.
And the irony is that after we had done that podcast later on this summer, we did end up seeing one at a local show. It was pretty amazing. Did not get to talk to that owner though.
That's cool.
All right, so we're going to queue up a little more show and tell. This is going to be a RUP that I recently picked up actually at the Turin Snowmobile Show of all places. Rich, Shad, and I were walking around, and we were going to go from vendor to vendor to see what we could find. And the next thing Rich knew is I was stuck on this RUP, and he had to go it alone at that point.
Here we have the 1971 Rupp Enduro. Kind of a hard luck story. Needs a lot of attention. Definitely some good parts to work with. Going to need new rims. Missing the ID tag. Not sure if it's the original tank, or I should say the proper tank. Obviously the purple showing through. Missing the jack shaft. Rear sprocket a little worn, but perhaps usable. Shock definitely seen better days. Has the majority of the exhaust. Looks like it's a little dented up in there. '71 Rupp Enduro.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that one, I just cried out to me, please, please take me home, take me home.
So Ben, what are you going to do with a chassis like that? Would you sandblast it?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Rob. I was telling Mike earlier that I'd found this image on the internet of somebody that mounted an old mini bike on their mailbox post, and it had the mailbox on where the seat sits, right? And that was a very popular post I put up. We had gotten quite a bit of attention on the page for that, and I'd shared it around a couple places. And one of my friends, Tom Drozwicki, actually knows the guy whose mailbox it is, ironically. And he says he's not on social media because I'd love to do a story on that whole thing. But when I gotten this, I told people I was really seriously going to put it on my mailbox because I thought that would be really cool to have that. And, I got a little outcry, a little pushback on the internet over that I should restore it. And some people thought I should customize it. And I want to give a plug again to my friend Joe Abadi from the Vintage Motocross Q&A. On Joe's podcast, we were talking about that. And, what do you do as far as a restoration? Are you doing a resto mod? Are you doing a full restoration? So a lot of guys, when they're restoring mini bikes, they are actually having them powder coated. And it seems to be a great way to, have access to a lot of custom colors. The cost of doing that versus getting a professional paint job or even trying to do the paint yourself because of the cost of materials. It's a cost benefit analysis. But Joe's take on it was, if you're doing a true restoration, you need to use paint and obviously try to color match. If you're not doing a true restoration and you want something durable, powder coating may be the way to go. The problem with powder coating is if it gets scratched up and dinged, you can't just touch it up very easily to make it match, whereas paint you can touch up. So there's pros and cons to it. But for this bike, if I were going to restore it, because honestly, the frame is in very good shape. It's not damaged. And even though it has, significant rust, it's not that, cancerous rust where it's rotting. So it's really sound. It's got good rust patina, we could call it, I'm certainly leaning towards saving it because I really hate to see anything vintage not used. That's the ultimate recycling, isn't it? Where we're,
You're talking
resurrecting
about
these
the
old
mailbox
things.
up at my cottage. The guy's got a boat motor for a mailbox.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think the mini bike would look sharp.
It definitely would, it'd be kind of fun, but I think at the same time, they're not making any more of these. So
True.
That's also a rule of thumb, is it a rare frame? And it's not so much that it's a rare frame, but it's a desirable frame. Any of the Rups seem to be. So you really have to weigh some of those options. But you know what? I'm really excited. I get people telling me all the time, I thought you were the Vintage Mini Bike Lovers podcast. How can you support somebody putting a Predator engine on a mini bike or doing this or doing that? Well, it's the same philosophy I have with vehicles. I'm kind of I like stock. I like to do things redone the way they were intended and preserve that history. But there's a lot of room in that hobby, and same thing in the mini bike hobby. As long as people are having fun with it and doing, good things, and it's really bringing people together, that's what it should be all about.
So and the resto mod is a great way to show your creativity.
Exactly. So
what about the guy that took all those Cadillacs and built a fence, stood them on the back bumper?
Yes.
They call it stone wall. I don't know what they call it, but
I think our friends in West Texas might know something. Isn't that down in Texas somewhere?
I think it is in Texas. Yeah. In fact, that's a good segue. They've made a comment. West Texas Mini Bike Association. If you guys know anything about those Cadillacs, we'd love to hear that. So even for the Muscle Car podcast. But it says, I thought it had a big slick tire until it came into view. He's talking about the last video clip we were looking at before the Star Car. I think it was the Arctic Cat.
Yeah.
So we're getting caught up on our comments here. Ben Adim says one of those Star Cars, he saw one at the Taberg, New York sled show. That might be the one you were talking about.
It was, yes.
And then David from Alaska Railroad says, do you have any idea of if one company sold more mini bikes in total through the mini bike years? Does anyone know who the dominant player was?
Boy, that's a great question.
Yeah, if anyone knows that, please share that. I would love to know that myself.
Yeah.
Vince Cuoco says, I redid a scrambler for a contest and got second place. Very cool.
Nice.
And George Ackerman says, nice yard art. I have a couple of them in similar condition that he uses as yard art. Very cool. And Keith Zybreg says, Oh, the Rupp Enduros came in red, blue, and green.
Mm.
And West Texas Mini Bike Association says, speaking to the rust situation, says use Evapo Rust first and then make the call. Yeah, you're right. If you're going to powder coat, you probably want to treat that first. Wes Parker says, I agree. There are no rules to this hobby. You do what you feel and what you like. Absolutely. And Mini Bike Life Ricky says, do you all sell vintage? Good question. I don't. Do either of you?
I mean, as far as that goes, you know, there's a lot of groups on Facebook. You know, I'd like to plug the old Vintage Mini Bike page and parts page. There's Arctic Cat pages, there's Rupp pages. You know, there's definitely a good marketplace for people interested in getting something vintage. You know, I do buy and sell some things, but as far as being a vendor of things, no, I'm not a vendor of a lot. I do have some things. And, you know, the reason I'm in mini bikes is because my dad sold them way back when. And so originally I got back into it. I was thinking I would sell some of that stuff off, and I did sell some off, but I found that I valued having it more because of the connection with my dad and building bikes just like he did. So that's kind of where I'm at. And it's something that, Eric and I are very into the vintage snowmobiles, and I hope to get him a little bit more into the vintage mini bikes and share some of that legacy, not only with my kids, but my grandkids.
Nice. Anything to add to that, Rob?
I don't like selling anything. I like keeping all my junk. My wife can look after it after I'm gone.
Definitely. Now I'm thinking when it comes to Rupp, I want to give a shameless plug to our good friend Bill Stahl. He's been on all of these podcasts many times. He'll eventually be on this one. He's the Rupp guy when it comes to Rupp snowmobiles. I know he has some mini bikes. As to whether or not he's selling them, I'm not sure, parts and things. But if he doesn't sell them, I'm sure he knows someone who he can put you in touch with that can. And then the other thing I wanted to add is several episodes ago, we had someone on here who was selling mini bikes. Do you recall his name?
Well, are you talking about Jeff Mahalko, right? Jeff has a collection. I don't know how many completed bikes he actually sells. He does some restoration work for people, but as far as buying and selling whole bikes, I'm not really sure. I'm sure he has things available. He has what he calls the junkyard there, which has thinned down quite a bit from what I understand, where he was had a collection of various vintage mini bikes that were for sale at his Windber, PA mini bike reunion. That's every year at Father's Day weekend. So if anyone's interested in looking, I mean, definitely the pages that are, I'm involved with, the Vintage Mini Bike Lovers page, connect with me. I can definitely connect you with some of these other groups. So if you're looking for a Rupp, you're looking for a Speedway, Arctic Cat, we can put you in touch with the people that are in the know.
Nice. And by the way, Mini Bike Life Ricky says he's in Fort Worth, Texas, part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And West Texas Mini Bike Association is answering. Whoops. There we go. Get it on the screen. He's talking about those Cadillacs we were talking about. That's called the Cadillac Ranch in Amarillo, Texas. Very cool.
Nice.
And West Texas Mini Bike Association said they're in Midland, Texas. Cool deal. And then one last comment here before we get back into things. Mini Bike Life Ricky says he has a 1970s Cat. Very cool.
Cool.
And that's it for comments. We're caught up on our comments.
All right. Well, I've got one more video that I'd like to show. And this is one from Tin Tent Titan. And I said, well, how should I introduce you on the show? He said, please, Tin Tent Titan. Because he's known in the cargo trailer industry. And I believe part of what he does is retrofit cargo trailers as campers so that you can have a toy hauler. And if anybody wants to check out his YouTube page, do it. It's Tin Tent Titan. And he's got some really cool builds on there. And you're going to see one of his builds to actually display his beautiful Rupp collection. So stand by for that video. Boy, just like you say, Mike, it's always hard to find these.
It hangs sometimes
when you need them.
Yeah,
right?
They're hard to find too.
Okay, here we go.
How was that, Luke?
Killer.
First time on a Rupp?
Yeah. What's your reaction, fellas?
Great shape. Oh, it's nice to see people out riding them, using them.
Yes. And I like that graphic.
Yeah, I apologize for the video quality. That was some compilation videos of on Tin Ten Titans web's YouTube page, and it was various people riding. But I really appreciated Luke. I'm not sure who Luke is. I'd like to meet Luke because that little woo he gave us at the end there was like, yep, that kind of sums it up.
Definitely, and I love this graphic right here. I don't know who thought of that, but I love that.
I'm
the
pretty
Rupp
sure that's
Memory Preservation Center.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's his design. And when you look at the fabrication work he did on that display rack, that's obviously what he does in his wheelhouse with converting these cargo trailers. But it's just absolutely amazing. The whole thing is mobile. The bikes sit there, self-supported.
Yeah, some nice fabrication going on there.
That's the biggest problem.
Go ahead.
That's the biggest problem is when you start restoring these, you want to protect them. You really want to make sure they're going to be secure and, out of the way, move them for cleaning, things like that. And so definitely.
Sure. And we got comments coming in. Let's see. We've got Mini Bike Life. Ricky says, I've got a 70s cat. We got Keith Zebreg saying, Wild Man Ken Kaplan. He must have been in that video.
It might have been the Scrambler. Is that right, Keith? Was that who that was?
And then David from Alaska Railroad saying, nice show, guys. Appreciate that. We appreciate you being here. And George Ackerman says some beautiful Rupps. West Texas Mini Bike Association says, living it Rupp. Absolutely. That's cool. And it's cool. I've got to say, we're all from the north, where Rupp snowmobiles were a huge deal in the 70s. And it's cool to see, people in the southern part of the country enjoying Rupp as a brand as well. In the form of the mini bikes. And that's a nice way for them to expand their geographic footprint at the time. Rod Licari says, look like fun. Nice shop there. Yes.
Well, definitely.
And we're caught up on our comments.
All right. Well, we are at what Mike would say the top of the hour, and we're going to wind it down here. I'd like to make sure that I give, again, high praise to both Mike and Rob. I really appreciate you supporting me in this venture, guys. That's been tremendous.
Yes, happy to do it.
We have the possibility of maybe one more episode this season. I'm still in the planning stages. I've got some mixed feelings about it. Part of it is, Mike starts up with the Vintage Snowmobile Lovers podcast, and although we think that it wouldn't conflict with the time slot, the amount of work that really goes involved in this it really is a lot. And so I have a great new respect for everything Mike does in the production side of things. And I really couldn't pull this off without his help in doing that. So thank you so much, Mike. You've taught me a lot, and I appreciate that.
My pleasure. Happy to do it. And you're doing a great job too, by the way.
Thank you. And I want to give, again, thanks to all the contributors. This show wouldn't be possible without people reaching out to me, and honestly, I've been watching the engagement, and we've had high engagement the entire time here tonight. So I'm really excited about that. So thank you to all the viewers, to all the people behind the scenes rooting me on and giving me content. And, we're going to definitely be growing. We're going to take some time. I've got a couple of ideas that I borrowed from other shows that are going to implement. And, we're hoping to get more people involved, not only just contributing to it, but also supporting the effort in producing it every week. Because I believe, the viewers are really interested in this type of content.
We like to see a clip stage by stage as you redo one.
Yeah.
That'd be a good idea. Yeah.
Yes, and we are always hungry for video clips and images. So please, if you've got projects, either barn finds or projects in the works with updates, continual updates on the projects, or finished bikes, we would love to see video clips, images. We could put it on here on the podcast for everyone to enjoy.
Definitely.
And let me find your email address here, and this is how you would reach out to Ben on the bottom of the screen there. If you have images or video clips, reach out to Ben with those clips, and we'd love to share that on the podcast.
I'm finding it's a little cumbersome with some of the video to share it. There's some workarounds for that. I've downloaded from people's YouTube channels, other Dropbox file sharing things. Google Drive, if you have that, is a great way to share video content, because it's usually too big to send through Messenger, email. If it's anything, over several minutes, it's usually too large of a file to share that way.
Yeah, but there's some creative workarounds. And the best thing is just to reach out to Ben, and we'll figure you'll figure it out with him, and we'll make it happen.
Definitely. I'd like to give another shout out and thanks to my son Eric. Please check out his channel, Ben Adim. I don't know how much video content he's going to put up there, but as far as content in general, he's got a lot of vintage snowmobile content, and I'm going to egg him on to do a little bit of content with video. But I thank him again for helping me tonight with all the videos. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate you doing that.
And I'm just popping a few last minute comments here on the screen. I think as new one comes in, it removes it. But
Ken was one of our early guests, introduced us to his collection.
Yes. Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah. Ben Adim saying, let me know when you need content for the Vintage Sled podcast. Yes, we'd love to feature on the Vintage Snowmobile podcast. Absolutely.
Definitely.
We appreciate that, Eric. Definitely. And let's see. Can't wait for the next one. Great show, y'all. I love the y'all from Texas. Cool deal. We'll share some pics and videos. Absolutely. We appreciate that. That's a wonderful thing about this. It becomes a community where we're all sharing information and enjoying things. Thanks for another great show. Can't wait for the next one. Outstanding. Send the invoice in the mail. Yes. Cool deal.
Thank you so much to all the viewers. I really appreciate, again, everyone supporting the Vintage Mini Bike Lovers podcast, the Vintage Mini Bike Lovers page, and also my new profile, Vintage Mini Bike Lovers. All the friendship, all the fellowship. Thank you for that. I appreciate all that support. Rob, final thoughts?
Great show, and it's interesting to learn there's that many people still involved with mini bikes.
Nice, right? Mike?
Yeah, same here. It's wonderful. I just remember them from when I was a kid, and turns out there's a whole experience that is happening here, and we're kind of helping to take that to another level, which is wonderful. Great show tonight too, by the way. Great clips, and thank you to all of the people who engaged with us.
Thank you. Yes, thanks again to our viewers. That shall conclude our show for tonight. Thank you very much.
Great show.